There we go. There it is. Mike, can you come shut this door? She's got those incense burning again. Crazy lady next door burning her incense and they stink. What? She's burning those things out there. It's all I can smell. Thank you. So today is an AA meeting. Give it a couple of minutes. Let people come in. These glasses get smudged really easy. Hey, twin sister Lily. So I have Facebook on my phone going on live stream. Got YouTube on my sister's Chromebook. So. I'm Sandra and I'm an alcoholic. Please be nice in the chat. Don't pass any judgment. And please don't be rude to each other. And definitely don't stalk them. Harassing them about being an alcoholic or recovering alcoholic, because not everyone that comes to my videos or my live streams is an alcoholic. I do these to help others, to learn ways to help a friend or family member or themselves to get sober and stay sober with the easy program that works. My husband and I are thinking that Copper may not be here the end of next month because he's not doing well. We'll see. Right now I'm having to put bag balm on his neck because he's got some scratches from him scratching himself because of his allergic reaction to whatever it is that we still can't figure out. But yeah. Anyway, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So we are reading the big book. I also put it in the description, what we're reading, the page number, and all of that. So we're in the big book, and mine is a fourth edition. They are coming out with a new edition, and I can't wait for that book to come out because then I wouldn't be trying to figure out ways to go about it not just being for him or her. It's just, yeah. Anyway, we are in the big book on page 553. We're reading AA taught him to handle sobriety. God willing, we may never again have to deal with drinking, but we have to deal with sobriety every day. When I had been in AA only a short while, an old timer told me something that has affected my life ever since. AA does not teach us how to handle our drinking, he said. It teaches us how to handle sobriety. I guess I always knew that the way to handle my drinking was to quit. After my very first drink, a tiny glass of sherry my father gave me to celebrate the new year when I was 13, I went up to bed dizzy with exhilaration and excitement, and I prayed I wouldn't drink anymore. But I did. When I reached college age, much later, when I progressed to full-blown alcoholism, people told me I should quit. Like most other alcoholics I have known, I did quit drinking at various times. Once for 10 months on my own and during other interludes when I was hospitalized. It, it's no great trick to stop drinking. The trick is to stay stopped. To do that, I had come to AA to learn how to handle sobriety, which is what I could not handle in the first place. That's why I drank. I was raised in Kansas, the only child of loving parents who just drank socially. We moved frequently. In fact, I changed schools every year until high school. In each new place, I was a new kid, a skinny, shy kid, to be tested and beaten up. As soon as I had begun to feel accepted, we moved again. By the time I reached high school, I was an overachiever, an honor student in college. I became editor of the yearbook. I sold my first article to a national magazine while still an undergraduate. I also began to drink at fraternity parties and beer busts. Upon graduation, I ventured to New York to pursue my writing career. I landed a good job with a company publication and was moonlighting on other magazines. Regarded as something of a boy wonder, I began to see myself that way. I also began visiting bars after work with my older associates. By age 22, I was a daily drinker. Then I joined the Navy and was commissioned as an ensign to write speeches for admirals. Later, I went to sea, serving a gunnery officer on a destroyer escort and emerging a lieutenant commander. I also got into my first disciplinary trouble caused by drinking on two separate occasions. In the last year of my Navy service, I was married to a lovely, lively girl who enjoyed drinking. Our courtship was mainly in bars and night spots when my ship was in New York. On our honeymoon, we had iced champagne by the bedside day and night. The pattern was set. By 29, I was having trouble coping with with life because of my drinking. Neur- Neurotic fears plagued me, and I had occasional uncontrollable tremors. I read self-help books. I turned to religion with fervor. I swore off hard liquor and turned to wine. I got sick of the sweetness and turned to ale. It wasn't strong enough, so I added a shot of vodka and was right back to worse trouble than before. I began sneaking drinks when playing bartender for guests. To cure my dreadful hangovers, I discovered the morning drink. The early promise of the boy wonder faded and my career began to drift. Although my career began, okay, so ambition still flickered. It now took the form of fantasizing. My values became distorted. To wear expensive clothes, to have bartenders know what to serve me before I ordered, to be recognized by head waiters and shown to the best tables, to play gin rummy for high stakes with the insouciance of a riverboat gambler. These were the enduring values in life, I thought. Bewilderment, fear, and resentment moved into my life. And yet my ability to lie outwardly and to kid myself inwardly grew with every drink I took. Indeed, I had a drink now to live, to cope with the demands of everyday existence. When I encountered disappointments or frustration, as I did more and more frequently, my solution was to drink. I had always been oversensitive to criticism and was acutely so now. When I was criticized or reprimanded, the bottle was my refuge and comfort. When I was faced with a special challenge of social events, such as an important business presentation or a dinner party, I had to fortify myself with a couple of belts. Too often I would overdo it and behave badly at the very time I wanted to be at my best. For instance, the 50th wedding anniversary of my wife's parents was the occasion for a huge family reunion at our home. Despite my wife's entreaties to take it easy, I arrived home in bad shape. I remembered being dragged drink in hand from under the grand piano where I had hidden to be blocked in my room in disgrace. Above all, I was suffering inner pain because my performance and my accomplishments in life failed to live up to my own expectations of myself. I had to anesthetize that pain with alcohol. Of course, the more I drank, the more unrealistic my expectations became, and the poorer my performance, and the gap widened, so the need to drink grew still greater. At age 40, I developed a large lump in my potbelly, and I feared it was a tumor. The doctor pronounced it a badly enlarged liver and said I had to quit drinking. I did. I went on the wagon with no outside help and with no real difficulty, except that I didn't enjoy life without drinking. I had to cope with the demand of everyday living without my comforter, my anesthetic, my crutch, and I didn't like it. So when my liver had recovered after 10 months, I resumed drinking. At first, just one drink on occasion. Then drinks came more frequently, but were carefully spaced out. Soon my drinking was as bad as ever, all day long, every day. But I was trying frantically to control it. And I had gone underground now because everyone knew I shouldn't be drinking. Instead of drinking in fancy bars and clubs, I had to carry bottles of vodka in my briefcase, duck into public toilets, and gulp from the bottle, trembling in order to keep from falling apart. Over the next 2 years, I sickened rapidly. The enlargement of my liver degenerated into cirrhosis. I vomited every morning. I could not face food. I suffered frequent blackouts. I had severe nosebleeds. Bruises appeared mysteriously over my body. I became so weak I could barely drag myself around. My employer gave me one warning, then another. My children avoided me. When I woke in the middle of the night with shakes and sweats and fears, I would hear my wife weeping quietly in bed beside me. My doctor warned me what if I kept on. I might have esophageal hemorrhaging and die. But now all choice was gone. I had to drink. What my doctor had warned me about finally happened. I was attending a convention in Chicago and carousing day and night. Suddenly, I began vomiting and losing rectal great quantities of blood. Hopeless now. I felt it would be better for my wife, my children, and everyone in my life if I went ahead and died. I found myself being lifted into a stretcher and whisked away in an ambulance to a strange hospital. I awoke next day with tubes in both arms. Within a week, I was feeling well enough to go home. The doctors told me that if I ever took another drink, it might be my last. I thought I had learned my lesson, but my thinking was still confused, and I was still unable to deal with everyday living without help. Within 2 months, I was drinking again. In the next half year, I experienced two more esophageal hemorrhages, miraculously surviving each one by a hair. Each time I went back to drinking, even smuggling a bottle of vodka into the hospital as soon as the blood transfusion had ceased. My doctor finally declared he could no longer be responsible for me and sent me to a psychiatrist who practiced in the same suite of offices. He happened to be, by the grace of God, Dr. Harry Thibault, the psychiatrist who probably knew more about alcoholism than any other in the world at that very time. He was a non-alcoholic trustee on the General Service Board of Alcoholics Anonymous. Let me see how much more there is of this one. I think just, yeah, okay. It was the date by the late Dr. Tybau then who persuaded me to seek help through AA. I inquired a sponsor and began attending meetings but continued to drink. Within a few days, I found myself drying out on a drunk farm. While there, I read the big book in the grapevine and began the slow road back to health and sanity through the recovery program of AA. As the sober days grew into sober months and then into sober years, a new and beautiful life began to emerge from the shambles of my former existence. The relationship between my wife and me was restored to a love and happiness that we had not known even before my alcoholism became acute. She no longer weeps in the night. As our children grew up, I was able to be a father to them when they most needed one. My company advanced me rapidly once my reliability was established again. Regaining my health, I became an avid jogger, sailor, and skier. All these things and many, many more AA gave me. But above all, it taught me how to handle sobriety. I've learned how to relate to people before AA. I could never do that comfortably without alcohol. I've learned to deal with disappointments and problems that once would have sent me right to the bottle. I have come to realize that the name of the game is not so much to stop drinking as to stay sober. Alcohol Alcoholics can stop drinking in many places in many ways, but Alcoholics Anonymous offers us a way to stay sober. God willing, we members of AA may never again have to deal with drinking, but we have to deal with sobriety every day. How do we do it? By learning through practicing the 12 steps and through sharing at meetings. How to cope with the problems that we look to booze to solve back in our drinking days. For example, I gotta plug in. Sorry about that. I gotta plug in the Chromebook or it's gonna die. There we go. Trying to find my spot. For example, We are told in AA that we cannot afford resentments and self-pity, so we learn to avoid these festering mental attitudes. Similarly, we rid ourselves of guilt and remorse as we clean out the garbage, for our minds through from our minds through the fourth and fifth steps of our recovery program. We learn how to level out the emotional swings that got us into trouble both when we were up and when we were down. We are taught to differentiate between our wants, which are never satisfied, and our needs, which are always provided for. We cast off the burdens of the past and the anxieties of the future as we begin to live in the present, one day at a time. We are granted the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, and thus lose our quickness to anger and our sensitivity to criticism. Above all, we reject fantasizing and accept reality. The more I drank, the more I fantasized everything. I imagined getting even for hurts and rejections in my mind's eye. I played and replayed scenes in which I was plucked magically from the bar where I stood nursing a drink and was instantly exalted to some position of power and prestige. I lived in a dream world. AA led me gently from this fantasizing to embrace reality with open arms, and I found it beautiful for at last I was at peace with myself and with others and with God. And that's that one. So, like him, I did go back out again. Um, I drank as a teenager. I drank when I was in my 20s, but it wasn't a daily routine. I didn't have to have the drink all the time. But mind you, I already knew that I could become that alcoholic because alcoholics run in my family on both sides. Well, all three sides. Of course, I can't name names, but I knew that I could end up being that person, and I fought it for 30 years. I fought that. Not really 30 years, but I'm just counting from birth on. Um, but 30 years, I was telling myself that I didn't want to be that person. I hit 30 and I started drinking a lot more. I still wasn't a daily drinker, but I wanted to party more and I wanted to hang out with people more. And then I ended up becoming the alcoholic. And I was out there for quite a while. And maybe it was my late 20s, early 30s. Anyways, I drank all the time, every single day, all day long. I didn't sleep, I didn't eat. I didn't care, in other words. So I I hurt myself and I decided to quit drinking, and I done that with no help. So I didn't know to go to AA or any of that stuff. And so I quit for a year, and I thought, all right, I can buy this drink of mine that I love, and my favorite drink, Jack and Coke. Thank you, sis. I'm glad you quit too. Hey, Brandy, I see you in there. I love you. Um, but I learned on the second bout of my alcoholism that it wasn't a lie that you go right back to the bottom of the bottle. That I learned later on. When I finally went to AA, when my good friend invited me to my first meeting ever. And I'm so glad that he asked me to meet him at a meeting. Because without AA and having a sponsor, doing my program on a daily basis, knowing my steps and working those every day, doing my meditations and trying to remember that when I get frustrated with someone, to pray for them, or if I get angry at someone, pray for them, because I don't pray for myself. I can't. That's not what I'm supposed to do. Because it's not for me to change someone else. It's for me to change myself. And when I am upset, I pray for them and make my amends with my feelings toward that issue. And that's just how I work my program. And we all don't work it the same exact way. We all have our own ways of doing our steps and sharing stories and letting people know that, hey, I am a recovering alcoholic. That has come to me as a first nature these days. So I don't hide behind being that alcoholic. I don't deny being that alcoholic at all. I'm actually very upfront about it. That's why I'm doing these meetings, is because the farther we can reach out to help that alcoholic who still suffers, maybe it will help somebody to realize that they're not alone in this journey. You're not the only one who suffers from alcoholism. There's millions and millions of us. And some of us make it and some of us don't. And it's sad when those that we know could do it don't make it. Um, I have family members now, even to this day, that I know they could do it if they really wanted it, but I can't make them do it. And it's sad. Um, I do have sponsees that I help, and they know that I'm here anytime that they need to talk to me, to call me, message me. I'm here to answer questions about Alcoholics Anonymous and my journey of my sobriety for 10 years and 6 months almost. So, yeah, a year and a half, 10.5 years. Wow. My sister is coming up on her 10 year. I'm super excited to celebrate that with her. she reminds me that uh, I do this for a reason. Um, my sponsors know that I'm here for them. Even if they just need to vent to me about something, and I'm here for them. I don't pass judgment on them for their feelings on things, and um, because judging them is not my place to do. Um, I can give advice, and that's it. Yeah, share how it's worked for me, and that has become my purpose. Helping the next alcoholic. Hi, Ray. Thank you for coming. I know you've been in the background, and I appreciate you on Sunday sharing part of you with me. Um, that means a lot. It means a lot to me to know that it's helping people and that I am doing this for a purpose, and it's a real purpose. Um, I'm not just doing it for nothing. I know, Lily. I know. I help a lot of people with these meetings. Um, a lot of them won't comment in the comments. They won't comment in the chat, and that's their right. When I first admitted that I was an alcoholic, I was at home watching TV, and an ad came on for depression, and I was like, "That's my problem right there." And I knew I needed to do something about that. And so I've been on depressants, antidepressants since then. And I couldn't imagine my life without having my meds for that, because if I go off of those, I'm for sure going to go back down that lonely, dark road, and I don't want to. And yes, I took that phrase out of a song. Um, and it's by Dax. I'm not sponsored by him. I'm not affiliated with him, but his music speaks to me like other music does about sobriety and um, people that have the ability to share their story about their sobriety journey and how they learned that they do have an alcoholic problem or an addictive problem to whatever it may be. I also use my AA to not smoke. I've been a year and 3 months without a cigarette, and it. I have my bad days where I really want one or a drag off of one, and everybody's like, "No, don't do it, don't do it," and it's just weird, not having that. I don't go outside very much anymore because I don't smoke, and that's what I would go outside for, to smoke. But unless if I'm in the woods or by a river or a lake, go figure. But sobriety is a good thing, and like I always tell everybody, you have to want it, and you have to want it for yourself, because you can't fix everybody. You can't fix your friend. You can't fix your sister. You can't fix your brother or your cousin, your uncle. You can't fix somebody else. You can't change that person. All you can do is change yourself and work your program. Do the steps. Get a sponsor, number one. I wasn't even told anything about a sponsor, and I had already picked one. And she's in my chat over on Facebook. And I love her beyond the moon, and she's helped me a lot, more than I think she knows. She's given me a lot of strength and a lot of will for myself to stay sober and work my steps, and always make amends when you have made a bad decision. Make amends. So, but with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. I'm not going to read the daily reflection for Facebook. So I love you, Facebook, and be safe out there and stay sober. All right, let's go over here to you guys and read the daily reflection. Daily reflection, May 6th. Hold back nothing. The real test of the situation are your own willingness to confide and your full confidence in the one with whom you share your first accurate self-survey. Provided you hold back nothing, your sense of relief will mount from minute to minute. Where did it go? Provide you hold nothing back, blah, blah, blah. The dammed up emotions of years break out of their confinement and miraculously vanish as soon as they are exposed. As the pain subsides, a healing tranquility takes its place. 12 Step 12 Traditions, page 61 and 62. A tiny kernel of locked in feelings began to unfold when I first attended AA meetings, and self knowledge then became a learning task for me. This new self understanding brought about a change in my responses to life situations. I realized I had the right to make choices in my life, and the inner dictatorship of habit slowly lost its grip. I believe that I seek God, I can find a better way to live, and I ask Him daily to assist me in living a sober life. Amen to that. So, I love you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful week and stay sober. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys.